Ever had a gut feeling about someone, but you weren't really sure why? Today, I'm going to reveal how you can tune into subtle unconscious signs when you're unsure about a person. These clues are easy to miss, but once you learn how to spot them, you'll feel a whole new level of clarity about anyone that you meet. One of my clients, Sarah, learned how to spot these signs and ended up avoiding heartbreak for herself, thereby saving herself a lot of time and huge amount of emotional capital. Hello everybody, I am Vaishali Nakade. I'm an engineer turned psychic with over 9,000 readings, and I show you how you can leverage the power of stars for your love life. In this video, you're going to learn about the top unconscious signs to look for when you are unsure about a person. Once you learn how to spot these unconscious signs, you're going to learn how to trust your instincts and notice some of the subtleties that you may have otherwise missed. By the end of this video, you're going to learn how you can pay attention to, or what you need to pay attention to when you have a first face-to-face encounter, or maybe even a non-face-to-face encounter, but maybe just a phone conversation with a person, and what signs you need to look for to figure out if the other person is telling the truth or not. Your goal is to be able to look for these clues within the first few conversations so that you end up saving yourself from heartache if the relationship is not meant to last. So here's what you're going to learn in this video. The first one is the importance of voice, what to notice in the voice, the energy in the voice, and going beyond the voice. So the first one is the importance of voice. In the previous videos the first video I covered was the eye contact, how you can go beyond the physical eye contact and have a soul connection with someone, or try to figure out if you have a soul connection with someone just from the eye contact. And then in the following video, you learned about the body language, how body language can reveal a clue as to whether or not the person is telling the truth. So we learned about the eye contact and the soul connection and the body language kind of acting as a sort of a truth or a lie detector. The next thing we look for is the voice. And when a person speaks for the first time, if you can learn how to decode their voice, you can kind of tell which way the conversation is going to go, or what state of mind that person is in. So maybe the person has had a bad day. Their voice is going to be different and their energy is going to be different. So you may want to avoid having a conversation with that person that day. And maybe the person has a very excited voice, which means that the person is really excited and they are in a good mood. So maybe this is the time you have a different conversation. Because essentially, voice carries an energy with it, or you can say a vibration with it, and you can decode this energy or vibration or vibe, and based on this, you can kind of find out the state of a person at that moment in time. So that is the importance of voice. So in the previous video, I talked about raising awareness when I showed you about body contact. In order for you to be able to decode the voice, you also are going to need a heightened awareness. You're going to have to raise your awareness so that you don't just take the conversation with a person for granted. You're looking for certain clues in the voice, and based on those clues, you're going to get a lot more information than just kind of having your awareness over here and just kind of, oh, the conversation is going kind of a thing. But if you have a raised awareness, things are going to look very, very different. So the second part is what to notice in the voice. And for this particular point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain it with an example of hiking. So let's say that you go for a hike and the mountain is maybe like this, then it goes down, then it comes up, and so on. So essentially what the mountain has is it has peaks, and it has, so these are the peaks, it has valleys, and then let's say that it also has some flat areas. So this is a flat area. And then let's say that this is a flat area. So this is essentially the mountain, and it has some peaks, it has valleys, as well as flat areas. So if you're going to be hiking up the mountain, then your strategy to go up this part of the mountain is going to be different than your strategy to go up this part of the mountain, and your strategy to go on this part of the mountain. So when you're going uphill, you're going to require a lot more energy. And when you're going to go downhill, maybe it's a lot easier for you to go downhill than it is for you to go uphill. And then here you're just kind of coasting along. So how does this relate to voice? Voice can also have, or the energy of the voice, it can have the peaks, it can have the valleys. So this is the peak and this is the valley. It can have the peaks and valleys, and it can also have these flat tones. And you can decode, or if you are listening to a person carefully, you can kind of find out these peaks and valleys and the flat tones in their voice. And based on that, you can kind of tell the emotional state of a person. The easiest way to do this, if you want to try this out, is it would be easy if you are, let's say, in sales, okay? And if you are in sales and let's say you're selling coffee. So if you are making cold calls and you call someone, say you call person one and the person one says hello. The way they say hello, you're going to be able to listen to that energy in the voice, and you're going to be able to decode what their state of mind is. Are they happy? Are they sad? Are they excited? Are they going to be open to have a conversation with you about buying whatever coffee it is that you're selling? Sometimes you could notice that it's a very angry kind of a hello. So essentially, when you have that kind of energy coming from the other end, you know that you can try your best, but it is unlikely that you're going to be able to sell that coffee, whatever coffee you're selling. So that is one way you can experiment playing with voice. So which is like by cold calling. Or the other way to do it is you can randomly say hi to strangers and then see how they reciprocate back. But the phone way is a lot better. Another way is to have a screener. So for instance, let's say that you have a phone screener, and let's say you have Google Voice. So Google Voice essentially has a phone screener, and the person has to announce their name. The way I happen to have that on my phone, so I can talk from experience. The way a person is going to say their name on the voice screener, I can tell the energy of the voice, and I can tell what kind of conversation I'm going to have with this person. So another way for you to try is to get a Google Voice number or any other number where you can screen the calls and you can kind of listen to the tone of the person. And it's important for you to be able to get calls from not from familiar people, but more random calls, which is you don't really know the person who's calling on the other end, and it is the first time that you're talking to them. In that particular scenario, it's going to be much fun for you to be able to kind of decode the voice and say, oh, this is the energy of the voice. Or let's say that the energy of the voice is very, very high, and maybe it's a shrill tone, and the person seems angry, seems agitated. Not a good conversation. Whereas maybe a person is very excited, then the energy is going to be very, very different. So let's say this is maybe a lot of anger. Let's say this is a lot of excitement. Maybe the person has a very bland tone, which means that he's neither here nor there, which means you don't really know like what is going to happen, or the person is a little bit uninterested or not in a space where you can have an exciting conversation. So that is how you can figure out the energy of voice. And if you've never played with this, I would suggest that you try and play with this. It's a lot of fun. So that is what to notice in the voice and also the energy of voice. So the next point is the energy of voice. Like I mentioned before, voice carries energy with it, and you can pick up different types of energy. You can pick up the energy of excitement. So let's say that you get a call from someone you know and they announce their voice on the screener, and you find that there's a lot of excitement. So then that is the energy of excitement. So you know that they're excited and the conversation is going to be exciting, which means that there is a lot of information in the spoken word. Even if they say hello, there is a lot of information in the spoken word beyond the spoken word. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to decode the energy of the voice, which means that, so let's say that they speak this word hello. So if 10 people call you randomly, all of them are going to say hello, but the energy in each person's voice is going to be different. One person's voice, the energy is going to be, let's say, excitement. Another person's voice, the energy is going to be, let's say, anger. Another person's voice, the energy is going to be, let's say, it's bland. There is like almost no tone to the energy. The next person, the energy is going to be hope, because maybe they are calling you with certain level of hope. So that would be the energy in the voice. So voice by itself is going to have lots of different types of energy associated with it, and it is going to reveal information to you about the state of the person at that particular time. And then based on the state of the person, you're going to decide whether you want to have a conversation with the person, meaning is the person going to open up? Are they willing to have a conversation? Or you kind of want to shut up your mouth and not say anything because this is not the right time to say something. So now, how does this apply to figuring out if the relationship with the person is going to last? What is going to happen in this particular scenario is the energy of the voice is not going to match the spoken word. And I took the example in the previous video about Renee asking, what city do you live in? And I'm just going to change that example slightly. So let's say there's a girl named Sarah, and then she's asking this person, so do you cook by yourself? And this person is kind of hesitating, or let's ignore the body language. So this person says, yeah, I cook. And the way he's saying it, she's looking at what he's saying, which is, yeah, I cook. And then she's looking at the energy beneath it, and the energy is kind of very mild and almost like lack of interest, which means that he's either not telling the truth or he's not really interested in cooking. Now, which one it is, she doesn't really know. She would need to have a little bit more heightened intuition for that. And you can, once you practice this a lot of times, essentially intuition is a muscle, and once you flex the muscle a lot of times, you will know how to use it and you will kind of get really skilled at it. So when a person is like really polite and very charming, but the energy of the spoken word is not matching their voice, then you know that something is off. So essentially that is a red flag. And the way you will recognize the red flag is, obviously you have heightened awareness. I mentioned before that you need to have heightened awareness because you're kind of keenly hearing the voice and also trying to decode the energy in that voice. when your intuition is strong enough, you're going to get a gut feeling that yes, this is it. This is the red flag that is showing me that this person is not telling the truth. This is the red flag that is telling me that this person is hiding something. This is the red flag that is telling me that I need to tread cautiously. Or that maybe it's so big of a red flag that I don't even need to do anything. I can just like end the relationship here, or decide to end the relationship and end it at a later time, whatever the case may be. So I showed you different ways where you can actually practice finding out or figuring out the energy of voice. And by doing that, you're kind of getting yourself in a space where when you have to actually use this muscle, then you can instantaneously know whether or not the person is telling you the truth, or whether what he is saying is matching the energy of the voice. So going beyond the voice is actually combining different types of things. So going beyond the voice, initially I showed you how you can look at the eye contact and figure out if there is a soul connection. So the first point was eye contact, which is the first video. The second video was about the body language, is to figure out whether or not the body language is matching the circumstances, and you can look at this video. And then the third one is kind of decoding the energy of voice. So now you can combine all these three elements when you first speak to the person or when you first meet the person. So you have this one, you have this one, and you have this one. So you're combining the eye contact, you're combining the body language, and you're combining the voice. And when you have all these three, you also need to use your intuition. So in each one of these three, maybe that's not a good way to show it, but in each one of these three, you have to have a heightened level of intuition in order to be able to decode each of these things. That if the body language is telling that the things are off, if the eye contact is telling that the things are off, if the energy of the voice is telling that things are off. So if you have all these three pointing that things are off, then essentially you know that you are in a danger zone, and then it is up to you as to how quickly you want to get out of that danger zone. Maybe you just have one of them which is not matching, then you're going to have to investigate more, or you're going to have to pick up more clues in order to figure out whether things are going to move forward or things are going to fall apart. Now that you learned how to spot the unconscious signs, what else do you need to know to figure out whether things are going to move forward or not? That is the subject of my next video, and I'll see you in my next video.